Hi everyone. We will continue our topic 2. Cell structures and functions. We have done subtopic 2.1 in previous lesson. So, now we will continue with subtopic 2.2 structures and functions, cell membrane and organelles. There are 4 objectives to be achieved in this subtopic. First, you will be able to know the detailed structures of typical plant and animal cells and state the organelles present. Second, you will be able to explain the structures and functions of the following organelles: nucleus, rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, lysosome, ribosome, mitochondria, chloroplast and centriole. Third, you will be able to explain the structure of plasma membrane based on fluid mosaic model. And fourth, you will be able to explain the structure of the plasma membrane and the functions of each of its components. We will look the detailed structures of typical plant and animal cells and state the organelles present. Look at this animal cell. The animal cell is surrounded by a semi-permeable cell membrane. Although animal cells can vary considerably depending on their purpose, there are some general characteristics that are common to all cells. These include structures such as the plasma membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, mitochondria, and ribosomes. This is plant cell. Plants are also made up of millions of cells. Plant cells have a nucleus, cell membrane, cytoplasm and mitochondria too, but they also contain the following structures: cell wall, a hard layer outside the cell membrane, containing cellulose to provide strength to the plant. Next we will learn the structures and functions of organelles. Now we will look at nucleus. The nucleus is the information center of the cell and is surrounded by a nuclear membrane in all eukaryotic. A cell normally contains only one nucleus. Contains genetic materials and controls cells' activities. Structurally, plant and animal cells are very similar because they are both eukaryotic cells. They both contain membrane-bound organelles such as the nucleus, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body or Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, and peroxisomes. But, in plant cells, chloroplasts are the food producers of the cell. These organelles are only found in plant cells and some protists such as algae. Nuclear membrane is a double membrane. Each membrane consists of a lipid bilayer. The nucleus is a membrane-bound organelle that contains genetic material, DNA, of eukaryotic organisms. As such, it serves to maintain the integrity of the cell by facilitating transcription and replication processes. It's the largest organelle inside the cell, taking up about 1/10 of the entire cell volume. Endoplasmic reticulum is a network of membranous tubules within the cytoplasm of a eukaryotic cell, continuous with the nuclear membrane. It usually has ribosomes attached and is involved in protein and lipid synthesis. Ribosomes are minute particles consisting of RNA and associated proteins that function to synthesize proteins. Proteins are needed for many cellular functions, such as repairing damage or directing chemical processes. Ribosomes can be found floating within the cytoplasm or attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. The Golgi apparatus, also known as the Golgi complex, Golgi body, or simply the Golgi, is an organelle found in most eukaryotic cells. Part of the endomembrane system, in the cytoplasm, it packages proteins into membrane-bound vesicles inside the cell before the vesicles are sent to their destination. While a lysosome is a membrane-bound cell organelle that contains digestive enzymes. Lysosomes are involved with various cell processes. They break down excess or worn-out cell parts. They may be used to destroy invading viruses and bacteria. This is the pathway of a secretory protein through the endomembrane system. The proteins move through the endomembrane system and are dispatched from the transphase of the Golgi apparatus in transport vesicles that move through the cytoplasm and then fuse with the plasma membrane, releasing the protein to the outside of the cell. Mitochondria are membrane-bound cell organelles that generate most of the chemical energy needed to power the cell's biochemical reactions. Chemical energy produced by the mitochondria is stored in a small molecule called adenosine triphosphate, ATP. Nuclear membrane is a double membrane. Each membrane consists of a lipid bilayer. A chloroplast is an organelle within the cells of plants and certain algae that is the site of photosynthesis, which is the process by which energy from the sun is converted into chemical energy for growth. There are two distinct regions, present inside a chloroplast, known as the grana and stroma. Grana is made up of stacks of disc-shaped structures known as thylakoids. The grana of the chloroplast consists of chlorophyll pigments, and are the functional units of chloroplasts. A centriole is a cylindrical organelle composed mainly of a protein. Centrioles are typically made up of 9 sets of short microtubule triplets, arranged in a cylinder. The main function of centrioles is to produce cilia during interphase and the aster and the spindle during cell division. A bound pair of centrioles makes up a structure called a centrosome. Now we will look at the structure of plasma membrane based on fluid mosaic model. The fluid mosaic model describes the structure of the plasma membrane as a mosaic of components, including phospholipids, cholesterol, proteins, and carbohydrates, that gives the membrane a fluid character. Fluid mosaic model was proposed by S.J. Singer and G.L. Nicholson in 1972. The word fluid is referred to phospholipids and proteins that can move around freely, like liquid, while the word mosaic is referred to the arrangement of proteins that are embedded with the surface of phospholipids bilayer. Plasma membrane acts as boundary that separates the living cells from its surroundings. Exhibits selective permeability that permits only certain substances to pass through. Now, we will look into detail the structure of plasma membrane and the functions of each of its components. The plasma membrane separates the interior of a cell from its outside environment. The primary function of the plasma membrane is to protect the cell from its surroundings. Composed of a phospholipid bilayer with embedded proteins, the plasma membrane is selectively permeable to ions and organic molecules and regulates the movement of substances in and out of cells. The plasma membrane also plays a role in anchoring the cytoskeleton to provide shape to the cell, and in attaching to the extracellular matrix and other cells to help group cells together to form tissues. The membrane also maintains the cell potential. Now watch this animation for better understanding.
All cells have an outer membrane, called a plasma membrane, which acts as a boundary between the outside and inside of a cell. Cell membranes are primarily made of phospholipids, which are large lipid molecules, similar to triglycerides. Like triglycerides, they contain glycerol and fatty acids, but they differ from triglycerides in that they have a phosphate group, rather than a fatty acid, attached to the third carbon of glycerol. The phosphate head of the molecule is hydrophilic, or water-loving. This means that it interacts well with water. The fatty acid tails, however, are hydrophobic, or water-hating, and do not interact well with water. Because of these unique properties, when placed in a liquid environment, phospholipids tend to arrange themselves into a phospholipid bilayer, so that only the hydrophilic heads interact with a watery environment, and the hydrophobic tails crowd inward, away from the water. The plasma membrane of a cell also contains other molecules that aid in its function. There are a number of different proteins embedded in a membrane, and they serve a variety of functions. Some are involved in the transport of substances across the membrane, while others help in cell-to-cell communication. Short chains of sugars are attached to the outer surface of some of these proteins, forming glycoproteins, which serve as recognition signals to other cells. Cholesterol is present in the membrane as well. Cholesterol lends support to the membrane and regulates fluidity, giving the membrane the general consistency of olive oil. The phospholipids, proteins, glycoproteins, and cholesterol are all present in the membrane as a flexible pattern, commonly referred to as the fluid mosaic model. Together, these components of the cell membrane allow the cell to interact with its external environment.
The main components of fluid mosaic model are phospholipids, Proteins, carbohydrate chains and cholesterol. Phospholipids are amphipathic molecules, have both hydrophobic and hydrophilic region. Protein can be grouped into integral proteins and peripheral proteins. Carbohydrate chains can be grouped into glycolipid and glycoprotein. While the function of cholesterol is to make the membrane less fluid at higher temperature, but more fluid at lower temperature. Now try to answer the questions. Scan the QR code here. Thank you.